Hello folks, Emily the Pharmacist Witch here. And today I'd like to talk about the idea of stepping into your wyrd. The origin of the word wyrd comes from the Old English wyrd, W-Y-R-D. And this older definition is fate or destiny. So it's interesting to think about how our definition came from this fate or destiny. Our definition, right, being strange, odd, out of the norm. I would argue though that the connotation of our present day wyrd still bears some connection with that older form of the word W-Y-R-D. I think that as we discover what makes us wyrd, we discover our fate. What makes us wyrd, really, it's what makes us unique, it's what makes us different, but that is our gift to the world. That is the thing that only we can share. And I think when we figure out how to own our wyrd, how to love those bits of us, we figure out our greatest power and we figure out how to connect back to each other. I'll give you some examples. My sister-in-law, Kat, has comfort objects, stuffed animals from childhood. And I'll be honest, I judged this and I feel really guilty about that. It turns out comfort objects are actually not even that weird. About 30 or 40% of adults have a comfort object. So it's really not that weird, but for me, I was judging a little bit and I'm sorry. But this idea of a comfort object as perhaps being something weird, Kat has found a way to own and to turn it, to alchemize it into something of great strength. This past weekend when we were in Disney World, Kat had a stuffed toy on their shoulder and it drew a cast member's attention on a ride. And the cast member made mention of it and Kat just looked at it and talked to it like it was alive. And it resulted in this really lovely flirtatious moment between the two of them. It was this moment of great power. And Kat has also found a way to alchemize that strength into strength in, working with clients, kiddos who wouldn't talk to them without a puppet. Kat found a way to work that strength. And it's I think a show of empathy in general, that connection. And some of my weird bits. I have a weird bit that I talk to myself in the car. I don't even listen to music. I don't listen to podcasts in my car. I just talk out loud to myself. And you know what? I've been able to alchemize that wyrd into talking into my camera here and hopefully make some videos that bring people some comfort or something. Or other weird bits of mine at a mind-body conference recently through Harvard. I came out and called myself a witch, right? It was a place filled with doctors and occupational therapists and other healthcare providers, and I owned my witch, and as a result, other people felt comfortable showing their spiritual sides too in this medical context. And there was something so beautiful about that. So, all of this is to say, your wyrd, if you can love it, embrace it, and share it, it can be a beacon for others and it can be a tremendous strength. And I think it's worth thinking about the distinction between wyrd and perhaps what is unresolved trauma. I think wyrd follows a few guidelines. I'd say, wyrd is safe. Wyrd is not putting you or anyone in danger. So, if you're finding that in owning your wyrd, you're in unsafe circumstances, you may want to think a little bit about that. Your wyrd is also sane. So whatever your wyrd is, it's something that is true of you when you are sober, when you are well rested, when you are nourished. Your wyrd is, it's, when you're in your body, present in your moment. And your wyrd is also consensual. So if your wyrd involves other people, as it likely does, our wyrds connect us, it is something done with someone else's consent and free will, free choice. So if you're finding that your wyrd and owning it doesn't meet those three criteria, maybe think a little bit more about it. But otherwise, own that wyrd and other people will see it and be able to own theirs too. and this is how we draw closer together. And I think it's just valuable to think about our preferences in general. Often, I think we think of preferences as something that divides us. I like this and you like that. But in fact, I think, again, in owning our preferences, we can draw closer together. On this, trip this past weekend I had with my sisters-in-law, we had different preferences in terms of the weather. I really enjoyed when it was warm and sunny. Kat really enjoyed when it was cool, and Tanya enjoyed when it was right in the middle. And in knowing each other's preferences, when the weather was not my preference, when it was not warm and it was chilly, I could enjoy that because it made Kat happy, right? And knowing that preference, that was a way for me to connect with Kat. Or my preference, I have no preference in an airplane where I sit. I'm perfectly happy to be in any seat. So because of that, I was happy to take the middle seat and leave the other two options for my sisters-in-law. And we were all able to be more content because I shared that preference, that lack of preference, I suppose, in that moment. Or there's this great story of a husband and wife who shared a muffin every morning, and the wife would cut the bottom of the muffin from the top of the muffin and would give her husband the top of the muffin every morning because she preferred the top and she thought it was an act of love to give him the top of the muffin. And one day when she was sick, he gave her the bottom of, she was sick and unable to cut the muffin, so he did it, and he gave her the bottom of the muffin instead of the top. And when they finally came together to talk about it, they discovered that he actually preferred the bottom of the muffin and had been, honoring what he thought was her preference all of those years by taking the top of the muffin. And when they finally shared their preferences out loud with each other, they were able to get the half of the muffin that they preferred. So being candid about our preferences can result in great connection and great joy. I think also being candid about our dislikes, or at least being willing to consider our dislikes, is another powerful way to discover who we are. I prefer the warm over the cold, but that's perhaps a growth edge for me in pushing myself to be in cold weather. I may find I'm stronger, I'm able to grow from that choice. Another example, I have long been very hesitant to do anything that involved hand-eye coordination, pool or mini golf or ball sports in general. But recently I've been trying to take some risks. I played pool, I played mini golf, and in taking those risks and pushing myself to do what I thought I didn't like, I found actually a lot of joy in these dislikes. So in verbalizing and interrogating or pushing our dislikes, best case scenario is we find a new preference. Worst case scenario, I suppose, is that we die, but that's, not something that we could do anything about afterwards. And perhaps in the real world, we might just find in trying something we don't like, we might find that we just become stronger as a result. We might find that it's not a new preference, but at least we showed ourselves we're capable of trying something new and that we are able to grow from it. So all of this is just to say, I think there is such beauty in owning our weird bits. There is power in knowing our preferences, in verbalizing those, considering those, finding out more about ourselves from those preferences. And there is also great power in confronting our dislikes and thinking about how it can make us stronger or help us grow. So all of this is just to say, you are magic, you are powerful, you are wonderful. Don't be afraid to share yourself with the world.